Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Jedi Hill, where we talk about freedom in all its aspects, from the financial, political, mental freedom, what have you. Today's special guest is known as a sales ninja. He's a former pastor. He's a seven-figure closer. And, you know, one of his themes there is sales without faith is dead, which I absolutely love. Thank you so much for being on there today, Jay. Lee.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always going to be a good day when you have a Jedi and a ninja in the same room.
Absolutely. My full name's Jedediah, so the first four letters are J-E-D-I. How can you not be the Jedi?
Exactly.
And for those people who are big Star Wars fans, you know, Joseph Campbell was George Lucas's mentor, who was really big into all the mythology and everything else. And there was actually an ancient Jedi order in Egypt that was based off the spine of Osiris, the middle path.
Wow.
So everything from the movies is actually pulled from ancient cultures, which is why it resonates with us so well in the, you know, biological DNA memory.
Very cool.
So what does a sales ninja do? And I know other people call you that. How'd you end up with the term? And
yeah, it's an interesting thing because, I mean, imagine telling your immigrant Asian parents that want you to be a dentist, doctor, or lawyer, that you're now from a corporate banker to a sales ninja. They think I'm like wearing a cape with spandex pants. It's not a popular thing to say to their church friends, because that's pretty embarrassing. So yeah, I went from being an introvert, a banker, and then I was a pastor for 10 years. And long story shorter, because of the funds running out as a missionary, and I was on donor support, I had to find a way to try to make ends meet. And I found a high ticket closing job, which I had no idea what that was. And very quickly, even though the language and the culture was completely different from pastoring and serving and, you know, traveling the world and changing the world one person at a time, here I was selling high ticket offers for coaches. And pretty quickly out the gate, I think within the first 3 months, I was closing over $100,000 a month.
nice. Yeah, it definitely gives some good commissions. And I know for most people, like my favorite thing when getting into the sales, learned it after I'd done Empire Floor, and it was like going between one of the books, like was the sales is a sacred art of leaving everyone satisfied. I wish I could remember which book that was from, but it really struck with me because I'm a non-denominational reverend myself.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
Come on.
So I did that back in like 2003 for the Reiki and other things. And I've studied the world religions. My first book was Alchemy the Master's Path. And the reason it's the Master's Path is because the path of mastery never ends.
Mm-hmm.
We're always learning, always growing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, in our communities, like they see sales as like a ugly, disgusting thing. Think of your sleazy used car salesman. But when it's actually done right, you're helping the people you're selling to, you're making their lives better and leaving everybody satisfied at the end.
Amen, brother. Preach.
Hey, and the preaching goes right in because you do. You get passionate, you help, you know, get the people excited, and, you know, you're doing people a disservice if your product or service can actually help transform their lives. Like we're selling the high ticket coaching at first. That could get people into their next level of business or whatever the case may be. And if they don't make that commitment, they're just going to keep spinning their wheels in the rat race.
Yeah, so true. And I think sales is transformational in the sense that, you know, as you said before, Jedi, that sales can be seen as sleazy, or, you know, that used car salesperson or that commissioned retail person when you come into the clothing store and they're like on your back, trying to put everything on your back when you are looking for a restroom or something like that. And I think sales is incredibly transformational and helpful when we can understand how we can help facilitate what people actually really want in a way that's simple, easy, and direct. Because there are people that just really, really want what you have, or want what someone else has, but they're trying to understand the product or service better, but they don't understand how to, you know, how it can really help them.
You make good points. And it's keeping it simple for people. The old KISS, keep it simple, stupid, simple.
Yeah. Very true.
And what people don't get is everybody is in sales. Doesn't matter what you do. Like if you can't get a date, it's because you can't sell.
Very true. And I agree with you, because I mean, like I have 3 kids, and selling is happening every day because you're trying to negotiate where you're going to eat, what you're going to do next as an event, or where you're gonna go for vacation, and you're always selling because it's art of negotiation.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you don't want to leave everybody happy, it's like you get upset people, like, and you will get the good and the bad with all this. But it's learning the game, the art. I'm with sales. I'm so amazed, like when I've done sales seminars and things, how many people are into the deeper spiritual stuff.
Mhm.
You listen to your good old people like your Jim Rohn, your Earl Nightingale, and there is a bit of a metaphysical to it, where you're doing your personal development, because the more you grow as a person, the better you do in sales and the more people you can help.
Very true. Yeah.
You mean excited there. So tell us a little more about you, Jay. It's like you started out with the high ticket coaching. Where'd you go from there that's got you to where you're at now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I really went into high ticket sales because I had to make ends meet. And because my funds were running out as a missionary, I just, the thing that I did right before getting into high ticket sales was I got a newspaper route, and it only gave me $100 a month extra money. And living here in Toronto, Canada, I know you're probably in Ohio. The average price of a home was like $1.3 million for a 60-year-old bungalow that needed to be demolished and rebuilt. I mean, you just couldn't survive. And so as I was in this new space, which was completely foreign to me, because, as a pastor, I had the license to marry and bury, as you know, and it's a very different piece of work, but the principles of serving and loving are, I think, a lost art in sales. The lost art of sales is, sometimes people are taught this pushy, aggressive, salesy way, which is why, like, it's a means to an end, which is a transaction versus a relationship, which results in a transformation. And so as I was learning this new business and this new language, one of the coaches that I was closing for, I started to identify things that intuitively, kind of like I just had always like a desire to level up, desire to help things grow and see things like, visually, that I couldn't put my finger on it. And so I started to see pricing that didn't seem to be congruent to what the value was. In this case, the price was too low. His price was too low. So, only being, a couple of weeks in, I said, I think the price is too low. He's like, you're a pastor. You just joined this team. You don't know anything. I'm like, 100% I don't know anything. But I do know that what I feel is that it's not, the price is not in the pricing that it should be. So he's like, what do you suggest the price being? I think the price for one of his packages was like $1,000. And then on Stripe, he basically sold it for whatever he can get it for. Right. So, and then, so I said, I think there's a $50,000 package here where you can do a done for you media building, a done for you funnel build and media buying, which is paid ads to grow and scale companies. And he's like, I mean, he did a lot of cussing, so I won't even say that, but he's like, you're full of it, right? And he goes, you know what, just for fun, let's take an introverted pastor and let's just throw a bunch of leads to your calendar. And, you try to pitch this and I'll prove you wrong. And so I put a slide deck together. Jedi, this is a true story. I put a slide deck together and I thought, these are the pieces of the pie and this is the value. This is the justification. Here's a couple of pieces of proof and here's the price. And then, so I got on a call with someone in London, UK, and I think there was a team of 3 people. So I think they're growing and scaling pretty quickly. They were like $50,000 a month, and they needed and wanted a done for you funnel and paid ads to be able to grow and scale with a considerable ROAS, return on ad spend, to be able to scale their company. And I'm like thinking to myself, that's exactly what I'm offering these guys. And I'm like, this could be a match. This could be a match. And then when it came down to, like, asking their pains, the problems, their desires, and the dreams, they were like, this is a great offer. And they're like, how much does it cost? So I'm like, yeah, normally it's going to be $100,000 with rev share, but we're doing case study pricing. So we're only looking for 5 beta case study students, and it's only going to be $50,000 for this done for you offer. And I just paused And they're like, wow, is that all? And I'm like, inside, I'm just like, what? You serious? That's a lot of money, right? And so they're like,
You're trying to
"Can we
keep a
get
straight
like
face.
I know, right? Without either bursting and laughing or like, going into shock, because I'm like, I can't believe these guys are taking me on. And next thing you know, they said, because the Stripe or the PayLink was not doable with their banking, they just said, can you give us a wire transfer information for this amount? And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't even have that because I wasn't prepared to sell. And number two, I wasn't prepared to sell at this high of a ticket. And so I had to go into the Slack channel to the coach and the founder. And I said, you need to give me all your banking, your Swift code, your transit number, your routing number. He's like, why? I said, because I just did a $50,000 sale. And then I started to one call close, 2 or 3 of these a month and closing $150,000 plus his coaching package, which I helped increase to at least 10,000. So anyways, from 1 to 50,000, that was a, 4,900% increase. And he did really well. He grew a lot.
That is awesome. One, you got to grow a lot and also build your confidence in what you could do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I didn't really know what I knew. And I'm just kind of stumbling and like, oh, that's pretty neat. Oh, this works. Oh, this doesn't work. And I think, pretty soon and quickly enough, I started to see companies and coaches that I was working with, grow and scale pretty quickly, like 0 to $1 million in 12 months, 0 to 2.5 million in 24 months ish, depending on where they were at and if they had a good offer. So, yeah.
That is phenomenal. I mean, any business you could take and you can take their offer, even if it's only, from 1,000 to 10,000, that's still a 10x offer. That is going to do amazing things for revenue and everything else for the business.
Oh yeah. I mean, the same time and energy and effort that is required to close a 10K or a 100K to a 1K is just, you don't need to spend as much time, and you can close, one 10K offer instead of closing 10 1K offers.
Yeah. And they're going to get higher value from it anyways, because they put in a bigger commitment. So they're going to be your better clients. They're going to put forth the effort to make sure they're earning the ROI on their investment.
Clearly, sales. Yes, you're right.
I'm a big fan. I used to sell myself. I used to do Empire Flooring.
What? Really?
Yeah. The 588
Oh my gosh.
2300
Yeah.
Empire.
Oh my god! I recognize that commercial. Very nice.
And yeah, it's like the third most known jingle in the country.
Yeah.
For America.
Oh yeah. It's very catchy. I won't forget that.
And there was a whole story about how they made the jingle and stuff too. But they sold on their warranties, the next day installations, and their sales training was phenomenal. And they're the ones who initially got me into reading Think and Grow Rich, the Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and then the Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was a really good program they had for how they taught their salespeople that applied more than just sales to your life. It applied to everything in your life.
And that's good. I mean, because a lot of times, even in the coaching space, you'll see these sales closers who don't really practice their trade, and they don't refine their skills, and they're wondering, how come I can't close more deals? How come I can't, be more confident and clear in my offer? It's because they don't have the proper training, and they don't put the proper time and the energy and effort. Like, you look at athletes, you look at what you're doing with the new civilization that you're looking. I mean, you put hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours of research, of study, and you get really good at what you do because you put the time in, right? You build the
Absolutely. Habits. And I invest in multifamily. So it's just like you talk about a 1,000 versus a $10,000 close, it takes the same effort to close a single family home as it does an apartment complex. So why would I ever buy a single family home? Yeah. I might not get a big commission check at the end of it, but I get residual income for life when you buy it.
So are you big into real estate? Are you a real estate agent or broker?
I'm just purely an investor.
Oh, okay.
Investor, inventor, and author myself. Like I mentioned before the recording, my first book was, Alchemy the Master's Path, because the path to mastery never ends. and using everything from cutting edge neuroscience, psychology to ancient cultures around the world and how we can rewire our brains. Because why don't we have a book when we're in school that teaches us how our brain actually works?
Come on.
So we can overcome all these past traumas and actually build a better civilization overall.
I have a big beef with the educational system and how we pay, you know, $40,000 to $100,000 and still trying to look for a job to pay, you know, 5 to 10 years of debt, student debt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
that's why you take people and you give them a rich people's school, so you can fast track them and not have to be stuck in the rat race for life.
Mm-hmm. And so with inventing, what do you invent, or what have you invented?
I know one of the ones I gave away, you know, those electronic cigarettes you see for the vapes and things.
Yeah.
When those first came out back in like 2003, 2004, I actually took them apart and re-engineered a solution using the cannabis when I was in Colorado working with the dispensaries, and made a solution, gave it to the dispensaries to put in those. So we could actually not just have people smoking that, but actually vaping as a better delivery method for the cannabis across the country. And I just gave it away.
No way. You'd be a billionaire.
I did, but I thought it's like with what I knew back then.
Yeah.
You know, I thought if I give it away, there's no way it can stop it. It'll spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
Where if I tried to patent it and do all that other stuff, you know, I could get government regulation and slowing me down.
Oh, okay.
And it was, you know, it was more one of those medicines because people don't realize how effective it is as medicine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I developed eye drops for glaucoma patients.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, using that same similar cannabis solutions to where, you know, the glaucoma patients would have horrible pressure and stuff in their eyes. And you would take a cannabis extract mixed with some vegetable glycerin and an isotonic buffered saline solution, which is just fancy way for saying salt water that has the same pressure as your blood, and make it into eye drops that would like numb the eyes and take away the pain and the pressure.
No way.
Yeah, and we gave all that stuff away because it was just, you know, I'm being raised a Native American, and, you know, the pasture and that, it's like you just wanted to see what you could do to help the world.
Smokes. So you're a scientist.
Oh, I can't wait till I get to develop a new lab here again in the next year or two.
A new what? A lab?
New lab, yeah. Yeah, I used
Like
to have
from
a
your
lab
house?
when I lived in Colorado, but I where I'm at here now, I don't have a good spot to make a new lab, so.
Like, would you do that in an office, or would you do it from your home, or where would you do that from?
I had like separate little buildings I would do it in because, you know, some of your experiments might blow up.
And
So you don't want it directly in your house.
But how do you know all this information? Were you like a science or biochemistry major, or?
I am one of those just people that are so obsessed with reading, learning, and applying what I can. Like I gave up counting books when I hit 5,000 when I was 28.
5,000?
5,000. Because like when I was in high school, for instance, I would read the textbook for every single subject within the first week.
Oh my gosh.
And I'd be bored out of my mind because I had a near eidetic memory before I got smashed by a semi several years ago. So it's kind of like Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory that just nerd that remembers everything.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite fun. And we can actually train our brains to do that, to expand our memory.
Really? Wow.
The biggest trick with the memory is, you know, our brains want to forget things to be more efficient, but you have to put the emotion on things to increase the memory, make yourself excited, fun, and happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then your memory retention will double, triple, quadruple, or more.
Wow. I would monetize that coaching offer right there, but we can talk about that later.
Hey, I'm all up in there. There's so many different aspects to this. But you know, those were the things I did before. And then the big one due to Vision Quest, like, was these blocks to where we can actually build a free, independent country. Because, you know, even communism's even coming to America now. So it's like, there's not much freedom left in the world. It's like trying to collapse all in. Now, I still have hope for things like Bitcoin and blockchain technology so we can decentralize and bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
But we need a bastion of freedom to like preserve until we can get to these next levels of technology.
And last question for that whole civilization, the new country. you were talking about some space, but that you would do this, like, how do you even buy space, or how do you even get space, or like with land and countries and zones, and you have to like buy it? Do you have to get regulations for it? How do you?
Well, you can see in the map behind me, it's got like all these
Yeah.
little lines around the countries.
Yeah, I see that.
This is their exclusive economic zones that goes about 200 miles, well, 200 knots, which is a little more than a mile from shore. And everywhere that's not is considered the open ocean, which is international. So you
Oh,
can
really?
build a platform as long as you're bigger than the smallest country, which some of the smallest countries are only a few acres.
Really? What do you mean? So you can inhabit the land?
Yeah, well, like what I'm looking to do with these blocks that are interlinking and fractal will
Yeah.
be hollow and foam filled.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to float in the deep ocean. And then we just have to anchor them to the seabed. So
Okay.
the island can only move so far.
Yeah.
And then we declare it a free independent country. I've hunted for the lawyers that would take it to the UN and everything declared. And then we'd have our own 200-mile exclusive economic zone.
Wow. I'm just thinking about like structural integrity and storms and tsunamis and.
Well, the way these were designed is there's actually like these are a bit small to do it, but there's a slight gap between the blocks. So you think like a metal grate. So if you have a wave that is bigger than what it would normally handle, it's going to go over and just suck the power right out of the wave.
Okay.
So we
I
should be
see.
able to handle 100-foot waves without even flinching on the base structures.
I guess everything on the land would be destroyed though, right?
Oh, if you have 100-foot wave out to sea that's going towards land, there's going to be 1,000-foot tsunami. So I really feel bad for anybody near shore.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. I mean, anyways,
but as storms get worse through the geoengineering and everything else they're doing to mess with it, our safest places to be will be on the sea, because 100-foot tsunami is only a few foot little wave swell when you're out in the middle of the sea. Not until you get close to shore do they become enormous waves.
Interesting. And how would you send energy and gas and petroleum?
My plan for that is I designed a combination hydroelectric desalination plant. So like the full-size islands, I want to make at least a mile long so we can have a full-size commercial airport on them.
Oh my
But when
God.
you have that massive, hundreds of millions of ton pushing down.
Yeah, the weight, yeah.
With your displacement, you create like a fake leak.
Okay.
So like the islands I'm looking full size will go like 500 feet down.
Yeah.
And pressure goes from high pressure, low pressure. Well, people think water doesn't compress.
Yeah.
But when you have that massive, every 100 feet you go down is like 3 atmospheres. So at 500 feet, you're in like 224, 225 PSI.
Mm-hmm.
And the water in your pipes for your house is only 80 to 100.
Oh my gosh.
So we start out with a huge, like 100-foot opening in the center of the island and shrink it down to increase the pressure. So we can get to the 800 to 1,000 PSI, and we can actually use the weight and the movement of the waves to do passive desalination, have Tesla turbines like Niagara Falls going up through the center of it through the 500 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And each island should be able to produce enough power for, 2 to 3 million homes.
Wow.
In an area that can only fit about 10,000 people. So it'd be really good for industry. And people think like oil is just like static resources. Like there was so much propaganda used to make it called fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually produced naturally in the planet. And all we have to do is we can extract carbon dioxide from the air or the sea. And then when you're doing your desalinated water, you're putting fresh water to one side, you use a little bit of your extra electricity.
Mm-hmm. My gosh.
To split it between the hydrogen and oxygen. So you release oxygen in the atmosphere, which improves the health of all life on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you recombine the hydrogen with the CO2, you can create ethanol, jet fuel, and other things. It's completely carbon neutral or carbon negative.
Wow.
And we don't have to drill. Then you have the saltwater brine that we can mine the lithium, the uranium, the gold, the silver, and everything else directly from the seawater, where we don't have to be tearing up the land. So it was an all-encompassing to make the islands as self-sufficient as possible, to make them a trading hub, for, precious minerals and things like that.
Wow.
And,
So you need like a lot of money and investment and government and just people to help make this happen, no?
oh yeah. I figured before the COVID, it would take, $2 to $3 billion just to build the base platforms, let alone the engines and everything to make it work.
Wow.
But it's what we got to work on towards freedom. And, as we mentioned before, it's like Elon Musk got this thing to go to the Mars.
Yeah.
But I don't think society is going to make it long enough for him to get there unless we have civilization on the sea already.
Yeah. Why not do it closer?
Well, even for that, it's just you have so much government red tape on things that is stopping innovation. Like, I'm a big fan of the medical field. It goes with the pastor and the, holy healing and all that type stuff. And, different countries have different rules, but like we can't do a lot of stem cell research in the United States because of all the weird rules and regulations.
Yeah.
You can extract your stem cells, but like you have to go to Singapore or somewhere else to have them re-injected back in you.
Right.
Reverse aging, because the human body, with the technology that's available now, you could live 200 to 1,000 years or more, just as we advance the technology a little bit. And I know we like switch this around on interviewing. It's totally cool going back and forth because it's what we want to do. We all want to learn. We all want to grow. And I'm just one of these weird old school Renaissance people.
Man, you know a lot. I mean, you're a maven. You've really taken all these books and the research and trying to figure out how to apply these things to, change the world.
My mistake was I didn't learn about the money earlier on. Like I was such a physics nerd and just wanting to understand the engineering, the architecture and all those stuff, went to figure all this out. It's like, but it wasn't until a few years ago. It's like, this is going to cost billions of dollars. Now, how do I get the money?
Yeah.
And that's where, the original Nikolai Tesla and many of those inventors, they messed up. They didn't learn how to become venture capitalists and raise the money. So that's where coming to these shows and, learning what I can from people like yourself that are sales experts, other investing experts, learn what I can to keep improving my freedom as we can spread it to everybody else.
Right.
I know you've got some amazing books back there. And the J. Lee, is that the Tucama Award back there? Or is that a different award you got back there?
This is the $1 Million Award for from clients and community. It's like the Tucama Club, which actually my clients they just got their second one. That's the one that did 2.5 million in 2 years. So they walked the stage in September of last year, the first time, and then 5 months later they got their second million. So this is the clients and community Facebook group award, where when you have a free Facebook group, by the way, then you monetize it to over 1 million. This is the award that they give you.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm the one that really caught me though is that 100 million offers.
Yeah,
behind you there. That number is so big, most people can't even conceive it.
Have you heard or have you read or?
I have not, and I'm always up for new books. Like,
okay, well,
you can never end. So that got added to my list here.
Alex Hormozi.
For who?
Alex Hormozi. He is he's the CEO of Gym Launch, and he basically took like physical gyms that were not doing so well, and he had some sort of strategy and blueprint to be able to turn them around. I think he basically would go in and look at the structure. He would look at the marketing and sales, and he basically had a blueprint where if you injected or installed this system, and he came in and basically helped them even on the front lines and the overall operations, he would turn them around from being bankrupt or losing money and making them all profitable, very profitable, by the way. So he started doing that, and then he was living out of a suitcase in the hotels and traveling all over the place doing this and getting amazing results. And then I think he got to the point where he was getting burnt out and he couldn't do all these physical, going to the motels and doing these gym flips, if you will. kind of like the real estate stuff, but with gyms. And then he said, I can't do it anymore. And they said, we'll pay you a lot of money. I think it was like $50,000 or whatever it was, if you just teach us on Zoom or online. And he was like, okay, I'll try. And then he found out that he could take his blueprint online and in virtual and do as good, if not a better job. And then he could grow and scale it. So basically he's got several companies that do hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue per year. And then his whole, this book in particular is talking about how to create an irresistible high ticket offer that's so irresistible that you would feel stupid not taking them up on the offer.
Ooh, I like that thought, because if the right offer, it's like, if you put in 50 grand on the thing, but it can make you 500, you'd be stupid not to take it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the principle is, he gives a story in the beginning where I think it's like, you go to a baseball game and, where they make the real money is with the hot dogs, the beers and the hamburgers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll charge you like, I don't know, $20 for a drink and a burger. And that's per person. And you have a family of 5, you're spending like $100. Whereas, a smart person would set up a hot dog vending stand outside when people are coming out of there, because they either didn't want to spend $200 or, on hot dogs and hamburgers for the family. They come out and for like $50, they can feed their family and give them double the amount of food. And so that problem would be like, you're going, you need to go to a hungry and starving crowd and have the right timing and the right location. And when, 30,000 people are filing out, your biggest problem as a hot dog vending owner is going to be, do you have enough hot dogs?
That's a very good point. I'm finding your blue ocean, as it were, of people that are just hungry, ready to hit on what you got.
Exactly.
That's one thing I struggled with is, especially with the online, because like in groups of people, you can sort people out fairly quickly, but with the online, you've got to pin down your avatar exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one that I've always kind of struggled with, because it's like, I'm good in different areas. Like, how do we narrow this down to one type of person?
Yeah. I mean, because I think you have so many different gift sets and skills, because you've acquired from literally tens of thousands of hours of reading and studying and applying. Because I work with hundreds of coaches, and the biggest challenge is that, number one, they don't know what their zone of genius is. That's the other opposite of what you are facing with. And other people are so gifted in so many different areas, they don't know how to either fine tune one offer or use those separate skill sets and combine them into an irresistible offer.
And it is a pickle at times, for sure. Because you get into the problem, you have to be careful, because you have something that can help everybody. Mm-hmm. But if you try and help everybody, nobody hears from you and you're just silent.
Yeah. You try to be all things to all people, but you become nothing to everyone, including to yourself.
Very good points. Now, I know you have some new challenges and stuff coming up for people to help them on the sales side. Can you give us a little more about those?
Yeah, I just ran my first ever masterclass. It was a free one on how to create and I'm working with my branding, which is the Sales Ninja. And my whole thing is sell more to give more, because as a pastor, I struggled financially and I really wanted to help people to break out of generational poverty. That's my why, so that they can provide for their families, their faith and passion projects that are near and dear to them, like, building this new civilization type of thing. But you need a lot of money, and you need not only millions, you need billions of dollars. So I did the first free masterclass. I had over 200 registrants on Thursday of last week. And I helped them create that high ticket offer that's irresistible, called the Black Belt Ninja Offer Creation Masterclass. So I spent 2.5 hours just downloading kind of the blueprint of how I've taken, Alex Hormozy and other different blueprints, because I've been part of a lot of 2 Comma Club award-winning coaches. And I've cut the fat out, and I kind of combine what I have learned along the way that has helped me to close $1 million in 12 weeks part-time. And that's knowing how to really clearly articulate a irresistible offer with confidence that helps you get more closes, which collects you more cash. So my next event that I'm doing in 3 weeks or so is how to take that Black Belt Ninja offer, that irresistible high ticket offer, and then teach them how to sell it, because you can have an incredible offer, which is like, it's the best kept secret until you know how to really, really be able to resonate and really be able to sell it in a way that, for you, if you figured out how to build the civilization and put it where, $2 billion to build a base, it can seem overwhelming. But if you have 7 billion people giving $1, or even half of that, you've already funded the entire project.
Or you find enough millionaires and billionaires that can drop bigger chunks. Yeah, and there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Like personally, I'd love if if you are watching, our friends with Elon, send him my way, because I know he's going to be bored out of his mind with most people that are just don't understand what he's even saying half the time.
And they got so much money, they're trying to find things to do with it, right?
I'm grateful he bought Twitter. I really am. Because we need bastions of freedom in every area we can get. So yeah, the sales, you got course coming up. So what's some of the best ways for people to get a hold of you there, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, they can join my free Facebook group, and I will send you the links to that. And then I'll send you also the invitation to the 5-day challenge is coming up on May 8th to 12th. It's going to be running from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 5 days. So I'm going to be giving 2 hours a day and 5 days for the 10 hours for the week. I'm doing a VIP special that I'm running for the next 24 hours until midnight tomorrow. I'm normally going to charge $497. It's only going to be $97 for 10 hours of training on how to take your offer and sell it. And if you guys are coming through Jedi's network, because you didn't register for the masterclass from last week, I'll actually throw that in as a bonus. So it's how to create your offer and then how do you sell it. I'll do both of those, and I'll throw them in just for Jedi's audience, and it'll only be $97. It's running till midnight tomorrow. So I left all the links, and hopefully, your audience can catch that, because it's going to be incredible value. And even at $497, 10 hours of training with a replay is still,
it's still a deal as long as you apply what's in it. Yeah,
exactly.
And I'll make sure I put all, the comments down here once we get it uploaded to YouTube and get to here later. Well, thank you very much, Jay, and everybody make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. This is Jedi signing off.